Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, May 2nd. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's not a matter of if, but when the next wildfire strikes. And tonight, one local lawmaker is taking steps to make sure firefighters have the help that they need. It comes as California marks the start of Wildfire Preparedness Week. Here's KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen.
It's a familiar noise for San Diegans during fire season. CAL FIRE helicopters flying overhead to help douse a fire. With much of California still under severe drought conditions, Governor Gavin Newsom declared this week to be Wildfire Preparedness Week.
This is Otay Lakes. Right now it's very lush and scenic, but by this summer, all this greenery will turn into brown, dry brush. Perfect fuel for wildfires.
Patrick Walker is with the union representing more than 800 CAL FIRE firefighters in San Diego County. He says with California wildfire season lasting longer and longer, it's taking a toll on his members.
From behavioral health, marriages, family life, everything costs. I mean, it's 2022 and we're utilizing 1975 levels on our staffing.
Right now, CAL FIRE operates with an average of 2.7 crew members per fire engine. A fully staffed engine needs at least 3 crew members. To keep engines fully staffed, CAL FIRE is mandating overtime. During wildfire season, that could mean firefighters working 40 or more days nonstop.
It takes a tremendous toll on the firefighters working those shifts.
That's why State Senator Brian Jones, representing a wide swath of rural East County, is co-authoring a bill that would add more than 1,100 firefighters to CAL FIRE. His district is one of the most fire-prone areas in the county.
So we need to prioritize this expenditure and get these fire departments staffed, restaffed back up, and then expand their staffing so that we're ready for these fires when they happen again.
CAL FIRE's union supports the bill. It is currently moving forward in committee, pending the governor's May budget revision. If passed, it will go into effect next year. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
It's happening again. San Diego Unified is facing a renewed challenge to its vaccination mandate that begins in the summer session. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman spoke with a law professor about the suit.
Starting this summer, San Diego Unified students ages 16 and over will be required to be vaccinated against COVID-19. The district is mandating it where there's full FDA authorization, which right now is just those 16 and over. They're taking medical exemptions, but not those for religious or personal beliefs.
My area is sort of the interplay of science and the law.
Joanna Sachs is a professor at California Western School of Law. She specializes in health law and reviewed the complaint, which now includes 4 San Diego Unified students. It started with one student, and an emergency relief request made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, but was denied due to there being no official policy at the time. The students argue that the mandate violates their First Amendment religious rights. Looking at the lawsuit, a few things stand out to Sachs.
They never disclose which religion is their objection. They say that they're Christians, they identify as Christians, but that's very broad.
She also found the complaint inconsistent in some places. It says that one of the students had already had COVID-19 and therefore is immune to catching it or spreading it. But then later, another teen is mentioned who has been infected twice.
One of their arguments is that these teenagers have all gotten COVID-19, and so they have natural immunity, and so they can't get it and they can't spread it to other people. But that's not true because one of them has already had it multiple times.
Sachs doesn't see the lawsuit prevailing, especially as California does not allow for religious or personal belief exemptions when it comes to vaccinating kids in schools, something she says has been challenged numerous times.
In 2016, I think 2018, 2019, and all of those challenges lost.
Attorneys representing the family say they are confident that they will win this case, not just just for their clients, but for all students with religious exemptions. A San Diego Unified spokesperson says the health of students is a top priority and vaccines are key to that commitment. They're aware of the amended lawsuit, but don't believe that it impacts the viability of the case. The state of California is also looking to implement their own COVID vaccine requirement. The earliest that could happen is the 2023 school year, pending full FDA approval for those under 16 years old. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A large evacuation is underway in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol. Civilians trapped in the rubble of a bombed-out steel mill have finally been able to crawl out to safety. And as reporter Chris Nguyen explains, the U.S. is now hoping to reopen its embassy in Kyiv.
In the embattled Ukrainian city of Mariupol, a small window of hope as an evacuation convoy got underway Monday morning.
There could be as many as 100,000 in Mariupol in appalling conditions.
But the fate of the city's Azovstal steel plant, the last holdout for Ukrainian resistance there, remains in the balance.
A lot of expectation here that finally the agonizing tragedy of those caught inside Mariupol might be coming to end, courtesy of this UN-escorted convoy.
New satellite images show how Russian military strikes have slowly decimated the plant over the past month. According to a Ukrainian official on the ground, more than 100 civilians were evacuated from the plant Sunday before it came under fire again. Also over the weekend, anti-Semitic statements by Russia's foreign minister drew condemnation after he said that Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler had Jewish blood. Israel's prime minister responding back saying, quote, his words are untrue and their intentions are wrong. Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine hopes to return to Kyiv by the end of May if conditions allow. A small number of diplomatic personnel have been working out of Lviv since mid-February.
We've been doing things through video conferencing and telephone and WhatsApp, and that's useful, but there's nothing like sitting across from interlocutors and talking to them directly.
In Washington, Chris Nguyen, KPBS News.
After the 8th in-custody death in San Diego County jails, racial justice organizations are demanding change in San Diego jails. Today, civil rights lawyers with the ACLU filed motions for a preliminary injunction and class certification. They're asking the court to take immediate action to require the San Diego County Sheriff's Department to address policies and practices in county jails that are contributing to the high number of fatalities. Community members came together downtown today to show support and ask for justice for those who have died in custody.
This is a crisis that we need to get a handle on, and it will not happen if we're just waiting for the law enforcement, for the Sheriff's Department to do something about it. The names and families are suffering, and the names are piling up. We want a relief and an instant relief now, as soon as possible.
The lawsuit also seeks to address over-incarceration in county jails. A state audit released in February showed 185 deaths occurred in county jails between 2006 and 2020. Last year, 18 people died while in custody. Advocates indicate the local statistics are almost triple the national rate. There's been a settlement over a controversial proposal for an apartment complex in Encinitas, a city that's facing trouble from the state over meeting affordable housing goals. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne shows us where things stand.
The Encinitas Boulevard apartment project is sited near the busy intersection of Encinitas Boulevard and Rancho Santa Fe Road.
What he's proposed is what they call a wrap design. So this is apartment buildings wrapped around a 6-story parking garage. So the project is literally a car-centric project.
Dan Vaughn is with Encinitas Residents for Responsible Development, which opposes the plan. The multi-story complex is proposed to reach 69 feet, much higher than the city's standard height limit of 39 feet. And Vaughn says residents living in the rural community of Olivenhain are concerned over traffic jams in case of fire.
So there's this sort of spider web of small rural roads that all kind of filter out on Rancho Santa Fe Road, which is a 2-lane highway that goes through the middle of our village. And in an evacuation, we've got to put 6,000 Olivenhainians through that.
The city denied the permit and residents thought the project was blocked, but the developers sued. Additional pressure arrived in the form of a letter from State Attorney General Rob Bonta, saying the city of Encinitas violated state housing laws when denying the permit for the development of lower-income housing. Bonta threatened legal action if revised plans were turned down again. Last week, the city and developers reached an agreement. reducing the overall number of units, but increasing the number of affordable units. Vaughn says he commends the increase in affordable units, but he thinks more studies are needed before anything is approved.
I think that at a minimum, the city needs to first and foremost protect public safety. And doing that requires a legitimate, multi-party study of the adverse impacts that includes all the key stakeholders.
The group also has several lawsuits related to the project that are still pending. Revised plans for the project will be presented to the City Council on June 8th. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Who says there's no such thing as a free ride? SANDAG and MTS officials kicked off Youth Opportunity Pilot Program today. It allows anyone aged 18 and under to ride all transit in San Diego County for free. And that includes the bus, trolley, coaster, and the Sprinter. SANDAG hopes this program will help with student attendance as well as increase extracurricular activities and job opportunities.
Getting to jobs or school is super important for these folks, and if they don't have a car and need transportation, the more service we can provide, the more frequent we can have it. It's just easier for them to get on transit and ride.
Those who are 18 and younger can get their free pass by downloading the Pronto app or picking up a card at transit stores. College-bound high school seniors have made their decisions about where they're going. And now they have to deal with the hard reality of being able to afford their first choice. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has more about the college cost crunch.
Let's go to next steps.
Alondra Rivera Vergara will graduate from High Tech High International with a 4.1 grade point average. She applied to 25 universities across the U.S.
And of the 25, how many were you accepted at?
17.
17.
Yes.
With the help of her college counselor and the support of her family, she has chosen Boston University and will receive an annual scholarship of $80,000 for tuition and housing. She visited the campus last week.
Seeing that in the new environment, I was actually excited. Like, I saw myself there automatically because of the new places that I would be able to visit and also the school.
Inflation is bombarding costs on college campuses, along with the rest of the national economy. An acceptance letter for the fall doesn't guarantee families can afford all the costs of higher education. COVID has triggered the state to invest in almost $1 billion of additional funding for financial aid, affordable student housing, and loosen requirements for low-income families to receive Cal grants, covering most tuition.
There were some tough discussions with students where we had to look at the reality of what amount of loans they would need to take out, multiply that by 4, and what type of life they would live after that.
I'm going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Diane Guerra Ramirez has decided to stay closer to home and study environmental management and protection.
I was worried, like, am I going to be able to afford this? Like, is it going to be a lot of money? But luckily, a lot of the schools did give me scholarships.
The first thing everybody should do is go to salary.com, okay?
High Tech High International is also offering its students an education and financial responsibility. Now that most students have made their college decisions, they will spend the next few weeks learning how to budget and plan for the future.
I'm trying to have that mindset of not being more so materialistic, you know. Just focus on improving myself.
Alondra Rivera is well on her way to the career of her dreams.
To be like a business owner, have my own business, and also be able to retire early.
Ringing the bell for each college acceptance letter is a High Tech High tradition, practiced plenty of times this month. MG Perez, KPBS News.
San Diego's already bleak childcare landscape could get even worse in the future. That's because less than a quarter of childcare providers say they're making a profit. Meanwhile, 78% of providers are either losing money or just breaking even, according to a new survey from the University of San Diego. Kim McDougall, the executive director of the YMCA Childcare Resource Service, says the situation will only become more dire if public money can't be found to help providers at risk of going out of business.
It seems like a very critical time that if we don't take advantage of this momentum and this awareness of this critical state of childcare and get it into the reconciliation package for the budget, this could be a missed opportunity forever.
The YMCA and other local organizations are lobbying for more funding in the federal budget that Congress is debating now. Do you feel like you got a pay cut this year? You probably did. Thanks to inflation, wages for American workers rose 4.5% over the past 12 months. That's the most they've gone up in 20 years. But at the same time, the spending power of workers has dropped more than it has during that same 20-year period. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported real compensation, which is adjusted for inflation, fell 3.7% for all workers. And that's because inflation has made almost everything more expensive and significantly reduced the value of each dollar. Thousands of acres of redwood trees in Northern California's Santa Cruz Mountains are showing signs of life again. It's a sign of hope after the devastating 2020 CZU fire, which closed Big Basin State Park. David Louis shows us how resilient the redwood trees are proving to be.
The CZU Lightning Complex fire raced across 97% of the 18,000 acres that make up Big Basin State Park. It killed Douglas firs, live oaks, and madrones. It charred the stately old-growth redwoods. However, nearly 2 years later, nature is showing signs of resiliency. Even after losing most of their leaves, the redwoods are growing a new canopy overhead. Down by their roots, they're sending out new growth.
They send out all of these new saplings along a trunk, so they stump sprout. Then these little guys will keep growing, competing with one another. One or more may make it.
Laura McClendon is director of Semper Virens Fund, a land trust that partners with California State Parks. She took us inside Big Basin, which remains closed, where they have planted thousands of redwood saplings in the hardest hit zones. But nature is hard at work, too.
We're going to continue to see many of these little saplings and shrubs get bigger, and in as little as 20 years, most people won't even be able to tell there was a catastrophic fire here.
This is the famous auto tree, where visitors used to bring their vehicles and have a picture taken here, which is no longer done. It looks very much dead. However, it is very much alive, and a great example how resilient redwood trees are. Big Basin has gone from lush green to black and white after the fire. It's showing signs of a comeback. Semper Virens Fund this year was also able to purchase 153 adjacent acres at the entrance to Big Basin. No announcement has been made about reopening Big Basin as work continues to fell trees that pose a safety risk. Support structures, fences, and other facilities still need to be replaced. Birds and some wildlife have returned home already, yet the risk of future wildfires remain a threat. How much more stress can the forest take? That could impede the regeneration process. For now, nature, with a little help from humans, is moving forward.
We're going to be looking ahead to some days with onshore flow, just likely for your Tuesday and Wednesday. After that, we have a nice warming trend. We'll see more in the way of sunshine. No rain, though, in the forecast. We could certainly use it, but it is not coming our way anytime soon. For tonight, temperatures get down into the mid-50s for you in Oceanside. Looking at 51 in Escondido, 47 in Vermona, low 60s into Borrego Springs. Tuesday's a seasonably warm day. Across much of California, we have this cooler pocket of air diving southward into Nevada and Utah, but that's really not going to affect us here in California. Temperatures upper 60s in San Diego, mid-70s in El Cajon, mid-70s in Escondido. Again, a good amount of morning cloud cover, especially along the coast. That should give way to more in the way of sunshine as we head into the afternoon. Wednesday, another warm and dry day here for us into California. That cooler air continues to press further east, impacting the Four Corners region, but it's going to be a little bit warmer across Southern California for you Wednesdays compared to Tuesday. And we're going to keep that trend as we move forward here in time. Near the coast, temperatures go from the upper 60s on Tuesday to about 70 on Wednesday. We warm up into the low to mid 70s for you as we push towards Thursday and Friday and stay there as we head into next weekend. Further inland, temperatures go from the mid 70s on Tuesday, racing up into the 80s Wednesday. mid-80s Thursday and Friday, and then a little bit of a cool down as we head into the weekend, back into the upper 70s for you as we look ahead to next Saturday. In the mountains, mid to upper 60s for you in the forecast over the next couple of days. Not a whole lot of change here. Or likely just see a little bit more in the way of sunshine for you for Thursday and Friday, and some breezy winds picking up as we move into next weekend. In the deserts, looking at triple digits here from the low 90s to the triple digits Thursday, Friday, and heading into Saturday. No cool down on the way for us here. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
Raising the height of the border wall has not kept people from attempting to climb over it, but it has led to a 5-fold increase in traumatic injuries that local hospitals are calling a public health crisis. From 2016 to 2019, UC San Diego Health and Scripps Mercy Hospital reported a combined 110 injuries from border wall falls. That number jumped to nearly 600 from 2019 to 2021. Scripps Health Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ghazala Sharif says that upward trend is continuing and straining hospital resources.
One day we had 10 border fall injuries on the same day. And you can imagine what that does when you have complex patients like this. It's not just like you have one broken bone. You imagine that you also have other injuries as well. And so the operating rooms have been very, very busy, which means that we need to sometimes delay the patients that have already been scheduled for their cases. So there is a definite downstream effect for these patients.
The increase in injuries came after the wall was raised from a range of 8 to 17 feet to its current height of 30 feet. California's population shrunk for the second year in a row, although San Diego County grew slightly, and that is according to a new estimate from the California Department of Finance. In 2021, the state lost 117,552 people, bringing the population to just over 39 million residents. State officials say a declining birth rate and increasing deaths from the pandemic are to blame. Fewer people are also moving here from other states and countries. 34 of California's 58 counties lost population. However, San Diego County grew by 2,958 people, or 0.2%. Muslims around the world are celebrating the end of Ramadan, a holy month of fasting. KPBS Big City Heights reporter Jacob Ayer shows us how some San Diegans are marking the occasion.
This morning at Colina del Sol Park in City Heights, Muslims from across San Diego came together. It was one of many events in the county where Muslims celebrated Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan. Abdullahi Shane and Ahmad Mahamoud are volunteers that helped plan the event.
So today we're commemorating Eid al-Fitr, which is one of our two holidays as Muslims. We are celebrating the end of the holy month of Ramadan, in which we fasted 30 days, we've prayed, gave lots of charity, and have connected with our community in brotherhood and sisterhood. And so today is one of the biggest days of our year.
Eid al-Fitr always includes prayer, family, friends, food, and gifts. It's also a time for Muslims to break their fast, which lasts from sunrise to sunset throughout the month of Ramadan.
So what we do is right after prayer, we go family and friends, take pictures, eat some good food, pass out some gifts, some money, whatever it is, just have a good time, dedicate this day to family and friends strictly only, and just whatever you're going through, it's just a day where you could just sit back and relax and just have some fun.
Mahmoud says many families go to amusement parks, do arts and crafts, and celebrate with music and dancing.
It's a day where folks take work off. Folks did not go to school, as we didn't go to school today. And they're really in community. So if you see a fellow Muslim, let them know Eid Mubarak, give gifts to your neighbors, come over and celebrate it with us as well, because, we love our non-Muslim brother and sister counterparts.
He says it's a 3-day celebration full of fun, but Eid is still a bittersweet moment as it brings about the end to a month that fosters kindness and community.
For so many non-Muslims, they think that when Ramadan ends, we're happy because we can go back to eating and drinking and doing the activities that we did before. But what they fail to realize is our hearts are yearning for a longer Ramadan, because the month is truly spent in a very beautiful way that cannot be encompassed in words.
The second holiday for Muslims is Eid al-Adha, which will be celebrated this year in July. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
A fundraising effort is underway to put Convoy Asian Cultural District on the map. The Convoy District Partnership is hoping to buy and install 6 signs along the 805 freeway to encourage visitors to stop and check out the area. In San Diego, freeway signs identify Little Italy, the Gaslamp District, and Little Saigon, among others. The Convoy Asian Cultural District is home to 1,500 businesses and is one of the largest collections of Asian and Pacific Islander-owned businesses in the county.
Many businesses since the pandemic have struggled. There's many businesses here that have struggled, are still recovering financially in the Convoy area. So it's still really important to make sure that folks are able to identify Convoy on the map.
They're trying to raise $30,000 by the end of the month. If you're interested in donating, check out GoFundMe.com/Convoy Signs.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, civilians desperately try to flee the city of Mariupol in Ukraine amid Russian attacks. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The San Diego Humane Society is stepping up efforts to save pets of Ukrainian refugees. The organization has partnered with the CDC to help refugees crossing the U.S.-Mexico border to bring their pets into the country with them. The Humane Society transported the first dog from Ukraine through the San Ysidro port of entry over the weekend. The pet was given a physical exam, vaccines, and flea medication before she was placed on quarantine for 28 days to watch for rabies. She'll then be reunited with her family. More Humane Society officers are on call to transport more dogs as needed. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.